Hello and welcome back to Hot Take here on No Bullshit, where we talk about the latest Hollywood movies and give you our hot take on them. Today's subject, Tomb Raider. Lara Croft, the world's most famous female heroine in video games, is back. Tomb Raider 2018 is, of course, a reboot of the Lara Croft Tomb Raider movies from the early 2000s, 2001 and 2003, I believe. And well, this movie had a lot to live up to say the least. Unfortunately though, I wasn't too impressed with this new outing for Lara. It wasn't a bad movie per se, just a little bit of a letdown, all things considered. So stay tuned to hear my review and recap and hear all about it, because this may be my first negative review here on Hot Take. But first things first, let's talk about the plot. Tomb Raider 2018 sets things up for a new generation, and I think that's pretty good. There's definitely some good foundation here, albeit delivered in a pretty standard, run-of-the-mill kind of way. Think of Tomb Raider 2018 kind of like a Batman meets Indiana Jones kind of movie, with a girl as the lead character this time. Lara Croft is a rich heir of her family's fortune, which was built upon her father's own adventures in tomb raiding himself. When Lara's dad goes missing though, she abandons the family state and business and opts for this nomadic, bicycling delivery man kind of lifestyle. I think she delivers pizza or food or something. Eventually though, Lara is dragged back into the Croft family affairs, specifically when she finds a clue about where her long-lost dad might be. Most of the world presumed Mr. Croft was dead, but according to Lara's clue, he might not be. So this sets her off in a search. And so, of course, our adventure begins. Now, before we get too spoiler heavy on the main story, let me explain why I didn't like this movie overall, for the most part. First, it kind of felt long, and not in a good way. There were a lot of extra lame scenes in there, including this whole intro thing where Laura's like a bicycle racer or something. And I know where they're going with this. They're trying to make her this sporty action-adventure star, thrill-seeking, but I just didn't like the biking stuff. I definitely would have preferred something else. I was kind of thinking they just should have started off with her raiding some other random tomb, going after some other artifact. Kind of like how Indiana Jones starts him off with this other mission. And one other scene I thought was weird in there was her kickboxing at the beginning. They set up Lara fighting with this lesbian chick, and it's kind of hot and sexy for a second, but then it turns gross and sweaty and weird real quick. It had a really gay lesbo vibe that I wasn't into at all. I was really hoping they weren't going to make Lara a lesbian. And now let's talk more about the cast for a minute. Oscar-winning actress Alicia Vikander played Tomb Raider here, and I think she did a really good job, but it wasn't great. She did the best with what she had to work with. I would say she was serviceable in this movie, but not really great or a standout performance. She just does a solid, good job. But more importantly, for a minute, let's talk about a little bit of the controversy around her casting. Because some people were heavily debating about Vikander being cast as Tomb Raider, specifically about whether she had the right body and build for this character. If you look at this picture of the old original Tomb Raider from the video games, what I'm trying to get at is, there were a few people online saying Vikander didn't have the necessary assets to play the Tomb Raider character. Her boobs were too small, basically. The original Lara, of course, had nice, giant, perfect rocking tits. And the original actress that played her, Angelina Jolie, she represented that pretty well. Alicia Vikander, on the other hand, is a little flat-chested. She's a much skinnier, leaner kind of Lara Croft. She's more fit and in shape, and I'll give her that. She definitely looks more athletic, but some people were complaining about her lack of boobs. They try to play her boobs up in the movie too, but it kind of fails. They give her this shirt and they try to squeeze them together, but you could tell they're trying to make it look like the boobs from the other movies and the video game. Now this wasn't a big issue for me, but I could see where people are going with this. In a way, I did think Angelina Jolie was a much hotter Tomb Raider, but I would never say Alicia Vikander is ugly either. She's very sexy and attractive too, and still does a great job. It's just a different kind of look. She's like a sporty yoga body, whereas Angelina Jolie has got a hot, sexier, curvier body. And I definitely prefer the over-the-top, big-breasted, in-your-face Lara that Angelina Jolie played. And this love is probably another reason I'm not too keen on the new reboot. Overall, Tomb Raider 2018 is basically just another action movie. It's well done, it's fun to see. If you want to see something good and eat some popcorn at the theaters, it's not bad. And it does have a good Tomb Raider setup in there, but at the end of the day, it's just another movie with another group of treasure hunters trying to escape a cave that's collapsing at the end. Pretty standard and stereotypical for the genre, something we've all seen many times. I will say though, backtracking, that the Lara Croft part of the story was a good setup. In the middle of the movie there, between the lesbian boxing and the bicycling and the cave escaping stuff at the end, there was some good Tomb Raider lore and setup for the story there that I enjoyed. It was interesting to hear this side of Lara's story that wasn't really told in the movies before, mostly in the video games. The original movie actually avoided an origin story almost completely. But this new reboot is like very from the beginning, like almost before she's a Tomb Raider, which is kind of nice. So there was a lot of potential here. I just wish it wasn't all wasted on this pretty basic action story. At the end of the day, they're just trying to find this MacGuffin item that they're all searching for, and they enter this cave, and of course it's all collapsing at the end. It's just that kind of standard action setup. It's well done and not terrible, it's just a little repetitive and unoriginal. It does lay good groundwork for the future of the series, and I hope if it continues, they go some better places in the future and get past all this exposition, trite story stuff. Because I could see the sequels going places, and I do have some hopes for that. There was even one shot at the end of this movie, which I will spoil a little bit because it's worth noting. There's one shot towards the end of the movie where Laura gets her signature handguns, which is just like what she used in the video game. She's known for dual-wielding pistols. So seeing her pistols show up at the end was a nice touch, but I kind of almost wish they showed up in the movie itself. I would have liked to see that here. It seemed like another flaw of this movie was setting up too much and planning out for the sequels. Like when they showed those guns, I was just like, oh man, you should have done that here. I don't want to wait for a sequel. I don't even know if I want to watch this again. Alright, let's go ahead and wrap things up and get to the hot take meter. For today's rating, I'm going to give Tomb Raider 2018 2 out of 5 flames. It wasn't the worst movie in the world, it wasn't a 1-star, but it definitely wasn't a 3 or 4. It wasn't great, it wasn't even that good. I would say it's watchable. I would say if you like action and you want to see a movie and you're into this genre, definitely go see it. If you're a Lara Croft fan, it's worth a watch, but I think 2 out of 5 is a good scale for this because it's kind of on the weaker side. It's repetitive. It's a story you kind of think you saw before. And it's also repetitive for Tomb Raider. I mean, it's a reboot of a video game story. It's all things you've seen before if you play the game. So nothing really brand new here besides seeing Alicia Vikander play Tomb Raider, which was kind of nice. But at the same time, she didn't have a lot to work with. And that wraps things up for today's hot take. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We got a new one coming next week with Pacific Rim 2 coming out on Thursday. And then the week after that, we've got Ready Player One by Steven Spielberg. Really exciting movies coming up. Of course, next month has Avengers 2, so it's going to be a lot of fun. See you guys next time.